Hi, everybody. Craig Shacklett here, CEO of TRIO360, with my friend and co-host Juan Romero, CEO of Volante Software. Juan, how are you, sir?
Doing well, man. It's good to be here. Round two, always better than round one. So I'm excited.
We'll see. Let's not speak too soon. Speaking of rounds, did you watch the Canelo fight over the weekend?
I did.
Yeah, I
You
did
know,
too.
I love boxing, so I've been watching Canelo. I had to bet against him just because the odds were so high for Saunders to win. You know what I mean? But I don't think there was ever a doubt that he was going to win. He's such a great counterpuncher. How about you? You see it?
I watched it. I mean, Saunders was looking good up until he got his face broken
Yeah.
by that Canelo uppercut.
Yeah.
But yes, so round two. This is basically, I don't think we have a name for it yet, but it's conversations with Juan and Craig, both CEOs of, in some ways, startup companies, but in some ways not, because it's software that's been around for a while, it's battle tested, and it's just growing. Now it's more of the growth phase than the startup phase, but it's fun to share ideas. You're coming at it from the slot side. You're solving a lot of problems for slot operators, helping them get more revenue from their slot machines. And we're coming at it from the marketing side, specifically the VIP marketing, player development, casino host side. So we're not competing, but we are tackling similar problems. So it's fun to talk these things out and bounce ideas off each other.
Absolutely. And I think they kind of work, hand in glove, right? I mean, the marketing people are marketing the product, which comes in large part from the slot and the operations side. So I think it's a natural kind of cohesion and fit to talk about those two things. And I think it not only lends itself to two different perspectives, but, something that is meaningful to both of them.
Well, let's get to our first topic of the day, and that is using customer feedback to develop new features. Now, I know you've got one new feature or new product that is hot. One of your new modules, the progressive module. So did that come out of customer feedback? How did you guys develop the progressive module?
It was 100% coming from our, customer feedback. So we're actually on site deploying a couple of our other modules. And when they kind of saw what the methodology was and what the fix for the slot file and the parts inventory was, they really, looked internally and said, our progressive process is the same way. I mean, it's basically records, collection of those records, auditing of those records. Can we take this framework and basically adapt it to this process? And, the thing that's kind of cool about the progressives module is it touches so many different departments, whereas a lot of the stuff that we've done thus far has been compartmentalized to the slot department. Now we're venturing in, incorporating, the attendance out on the floor, accounting, kind of the compliance aspect. So it's nice to kind of see the product evolving to that kind of stage.
So it came out of, so you had initial modules, and then as you're solving those problems, was it just when you're out, like, hey, what's the next problem you guys want solved? Or was it like, man, were they saying, gosh, I wish you guys could come up with something for this? Like, how did the initial idea come?
Yeah, so we were out on install and we were meeting with one of the main, people that were bringing our system in, a guy by the name of Alan Schultz. And he just was like, well, I have you in here. So we didn't even have to pose the question, that. And the thing is, working with him, he's always 5 steps ahead of a very progressive, very, forward-thinking organization. They're continually pushing the envelope. And, I think if he caught me, on a good meeting, he might have 30 ideas. So, without even thinking about it, that's how he is. He's the type of guy that, has built his own proprietary databases for processes that don't exist. So he just made his own solution. So that's the type of individual that we're fortunate to work with. And no, he was just like, this. Now, how do we do this? And then let's put the pieces together. And, we're very lucky in that regard.
Nice. So he gave you the kind of the seed of the idea, and it sounds like he was the type of guy that added even more than just kind of an idea. He gave you some framework, and then your team ran with it. And how did you take that feedback and develop it into a product that now is going into several casinos?
Yeah, well, him and Dustin collaborate very well, right? So Dustin, who's a co-founder at Volante and also the head of our development arm, I mean, they just think on another level, right? So Dustin's ability to take kind of that process level requirement and operational requirements and just meld them into like a technical solution is seriously like second to none. And I know you know that because on your side of the things, you handle a lot of the business and sales type stuff and operational things, while your partner is the CTO, right? So it's kind of that same dynamic. And, you know, just I consider myself kind of the middleman in that thing, right? Is like almost like not a referee, but like just creating juncture points, because you have two people that are already firing at full speed. It's just a matter of like making sure the little granules in between are getting filled in as well. And so, you know, they just take those concepts and each of them have their specialties. And before you know it, we have a full-blown solution.
Nice. Yeah, we're similar. And we talked a little bit about this. It's important to get to the why when a new feature is requested, or, hey, can you do this? It's, well, why do you want that? Because it's one thing, and this touches on like why it's important to have industry experience, because if you're just, you go to an IT consulting firm and say, like, hey, can you build this? They don't know to ask why. So they may build something that if you look at the transcript of what you said, it's like, okay, well, yeah, you built that, but I didn't want this feature to do X, I wanted to do Y. And the way you built it is not built for Y, it's built for X. And they're like, well, we're just doing what you said. But if you have industry experience, like in our example, we're selling to customers every day on the URComped side of our business, and we get tons of feedback, and we test different things to know, okay, well, adding this would help us sell trips better. But if you're asking for us to put a button here, I mean, we could do that, but wouldn't it save you a couple clicks if we put it there? And then like, oh yeah, you're right. We need to do that. We need to do that. So the value of having industry experience can give you the confidence to maybe push back on customers a little bit, or know like, oh, right off the bat, that is a great suggestion. We need to like put this at the front of the roadmap and build it right away, because that's genius. And we had some feedback like that recently where one of the big advantages of TRIO is streamlining like VIP bookings, reservations, where customers say, hey, I want a room. And a lot of times a host has to like fill out an Excel spreadsheet and send it to a booking department that has all the relevant information. It can take a long time. Or if a casino doesn't have that format, then the host will just say, hey, book a room for this player. And then the hotel side has to go back like, hey, well, tell me again, like what room type are you requesting? Is it full comps, casino rate? So TRIO streamlines that. But we had one of these hosts at a big Indian casino in Southern California that uses TRIO. They're like, hey, you know what? It would really help if it could automatically pull all the information from the previous trip, and then also make it so it's one button that's on this screen. And we're like, okay, done. We had it created in like 2 days because it was such a great idea. It made total sense. Sure. So anyway, that was kind of a long example, but yeah, it's valuable to have that customer or that industry experience, because you can take feedback and right away know like, oh, yes, that is something that will benefit every casino. It's a genius idea. Or, you know what, there's probably a better way to do this, and here's why. And you can speak from a position of credibility about like, here's why this is better, and they respect your opinion.
Sure. What's interesting about your journey too is, and I'd be interested like in your take on this is you didn't scale reverse, you scaled like sideways. So normally like you said, you took what you were doing on a huge scale on the URComped side and basically like kind of squeezed it down to like a manageable like pod level, where a lot of times you see the opposite, right? Like proof of concept on this small scale and then scale out. So I mean, that's pretty interesting. Do you think like you got some additional like bang for your buck doing it in reverse?
Yeah, that's I think there is definitely some bang for your buck, because for people that don't know, we started out with URComped, which was meant to be like the Expedia or OpenTable of comps, right? And we built it to serve hundreds of thousands of customers that want to sign up through like a real slick web portal, qualify themselves, and get comps at different casinos. We built it for scale. But what we learned where we had to scale down was like high value players want a personal touch, right? Casino players that have casino hosts at the casinos they play at, they want that kind of concierge service. So we're like, oh man, we need to build, like slick ways to text customers and like, learn from the VIPs. How do you like interacting with your host, and then build those features. So in some perspectives, like we were built to handle, if one of these big brands was like, hey, we want to load up Trio, start using it with 500,000 of our customers, great. Whereas if we started from scratch, we'd be like, oh, I don't know if we can go more than 2,000. So that's the scale from a database perspective. That helped us a ton. And then I think there were definitely some advantages, but we also we had to scale down. And so part of our business was like a little seed, like, okay, now we have to start texting players. How do we build that? And it's grown over 5 years. So anyway, in some perspectives, we started huge pie in the sky, and on some we're like a little knife fight, like 1-to-1. And then how do we scale that? So
yeah, I was thinking about that the last time we talked. I'm like, it's interesting because usually you see people scale up, and I don't think you scaled down in any sense. You basically just pivoted, right, and changed audiences, and basically took a platform for the masses and applied it on not an individual but a property level, which is brilliant. I mean, it's repurposing something that you already built, but it's just interesting to see. I don't know if I've ever seen that, so that was kind of cool.
Well, one Easter egg for anybody that's listening to this, we probably won't put this in a clip, but so if you're listening to the full podcast, you're getting a bonus. But like URComp's web portal is unlike it's better than any casino, right? Where like you can log in as a player and you've got like great videos of different offers, and like it's just very slick, where then you can request a trip or chat with your host directly through there. And so that is something that we are getting ready to roll out as a product to casinos. And I think that's going to be big. And just the fact that it's all an advantage, again, of building for URCompt and then taking it to casinos. It's all integrated. It's not like I'm taking a product, this company built my web portal and this company built my host software and then this company did something else. It's like this, we know it works seamlessly and flawlessly because we built it all to work with each other. So there's definitely, we've experienced some advantages from solving a big problem and then trying to scale it down to a single property level.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, what about with you? How has being from the operator side, how has that helped you have conversations where maybe somebody from outside of the industry trying to build a product, would run into some challenges?
Yeah, it's definitely been a leg up, right? I mean, I think that for a lot of people, not having any experience in the gaming realm, whether it's from, the operational side or a provider side, is a non-starter. So certainly being able to talk about the experiences that we've had in the gaming industry and really understanding fundamentally some of the day-to-day challenges has certainly helped us, immensely, right? I wonder if some of the adoption within the industry is hampered by the fact that we don't talk to anybody that doesn't have industry experience, because I think that there's a lot of things that as an industry we could take advantage of, or that other industries are doing extremely well that would fit very well in gaming. And I don't know if it's like maybe those external industries don't see the ROI, which is hard to believe for me, to commit the time to really understand, or there's like this wall up. I don't really know which one it is, but being in the industry, for X amount of years isn't going to hurt you. That's for sure, especially if you really apply yourself to the underlying problems and the day-to-day issues that you're trying to solve.
Yeah, I think there's definitely advantage to both. I think if you're totally insulated and you've only been in the casino business, then there are a lot of great ideas, like to see how are software salespeople approaching talking to their prospects, and is there anything there? I mean, I'm talking from our experience, like from the marketing side. Is there anything that the cutting edge, like people that are going around selling payroll products or software or anything else where it's super competitive that they're trying to get out to as many people as possible? Is there anything that they're doing that we could bring over to casino hosting? I mean, because you can learn a lot from best practices in the casino industry. What's that host team doing that this host team isn't? But
right.
if you're looking for like a real breakthrough, it's super helpful to have exposure to outside industries. Because selling is selling, whether you're
Right.
selling, you're selling a trip to a casino, or you're selling, a SaaS product for a few $100 a month. It's still, there's building that personal connection, is proven value. It's pushing somebody to a close. So I think, but you also, if you come in from outside the industry, like there is a lot that's totally unique to the casino. And if you can't speak that language, if you don't know from a marketing side what ADT is and soft costs versus hard costs, if you don't know any of that, they're going to be like, whatever, you don't know how to sell in the casino business. But
Right.
if you've got both, then it's definitely a leg up.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you bring that up. So what I always, like pontificate on for employees or, colleagues or whatever is kind of like these, flowing out squares, right? When we're solving problems, because that's really what you're doing, right? Whether it's selling or operational type stuff, is we're solving problems. So, I always say like the middle square is you search within you and your experience, right? And then you take a step out if you don't have the answer, and you go within the industry, reach out to your colleagues, they're at your property or people that you know in your network, and then take a step outside of your region, right? If we're not doing it here in New Mexico or Texas, maybe they're doing it in California, right? And then that final leap is like, what are other industries doing? Because at the end of the day, do you really have like a shipping problem internal to gaming, or do you have a logistics problem? Because if you don't think there's 10 million white papers that Amazon and Walmart and UPS have put out, or studies that have been conducted on them, they have, right? So other industries have solved those problems. And I think sometimes we kind of like just say, well, this is a very specific thing. Well, if you can strip away and get to that higher level, you can go, no, it's a logistic problem, and everyone solved logistic issues. It's just that the medium's changed, right? And so it's just kind of opening up your way of thinking and kind of your thought process.
So new products, you mentioned the progressive, and we're developing new products. I should say products, not the right word for us, more of a feature inside TRIO, and that's around analytics with our new partnership with Casino Science, because that was, again, customer feedback was just, hey, this is great for targeting players, but we'd like more robustness. I'm not sure if that's a word or not, but we'd like more with like telling us who to target. Okay,
Sure.
Great. And we partnered with Casino Science. We got some great features being built in TRIO. When you build a new module, what's your thought process for, okay, we know we got a great product. How do we now market a new feature? What do you do there?
Well, I think it's the same thing we talked about in the last podcast, right? Which is, what problem are we ultimately trying to solve? So where we always start is, from this conceptual idea of like, this is the high level requirement that we're trying to do, like to manage our progressive process, right? From there, it's like dissecting their process at every level. So who are all the players? What exactly are their, components of this particular workflow or process? And what then subsequently, what are the issues that they're experiencing, right? And so from there, we can gather the intelligence that we need to create a feature set, right? And as we iterate on that product through wireframing and continual meetings with the customers to refine it and get to the point where we can get to production, I think, what's interesting to me is we've talked about those things in the kind of technical and methodology sense, but really what you've been doing is crafting your marketing message, if you've been paying attention. Right. So if we know what the process is, if we know what the problems are, and we know what the meaning is to all of these various groups of people, then our marketing should just be an extension of everything we've learned through the process. And that's kind of the way that we look at it. That's the way we train the account executives. That's the way the social media goes out, is who's the audience, what's the problem.
I like it. So you identify the problem that you're able to solve, and then it's just get the word out about, here's the problem. Do you have it too? We can solve it. Right?
Yeah. Well, and I think, a lot of times, and I think we talked about this before, but we get stuck on features, right? Like, so when you say something like, we do text messaging, you can go into a property and talk to a host, or the person that oversees the host, and say, well, we do text messaging. That's a huge feature of TRIO. Yeah, cool. That's great. But could you also go to them and say, how would you like to send, mass messaging that you can control through templates with a push of a button in a 50th of the time. Well, you just described the same feature, but you did it in a way that shows a benefit to actually having it, not just saying you have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like people, they don't buy a 1/4-inch drill bit. They're buying a 1/4-inch hole. And it's just the drill bit is a way to get the 1/4-inch hole.
And really what they're doing is they're buying the ability to hang a picture of their family on the wall, right? Yeah. That's really what they're buying at the end of the day, right? And so I think that's important. I think if you have that holistic view, it's going to, carry throughout not only the product and the relationship with the customer, but also the marketing and everything else that happens in between there.
Well, Juan, this was a fun and productive, enlightening conversation as always. Before we got on camera, we talked about NIGA in July in Vegas. So if anybody watching this is going to be at NIGA in Las Vegas, I know Juan's going to be there. We've got a booth. So definitely hit us both up. Juan, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Just email me, juan@volantesoftware.com, or at my LinkedIn profile.
I will echo that. My email is not juan@volantesoftware.com. Mine is Craig. I got a new email, Craig@TRIO360VIP.com. Hit me up there or on LinkedIn as well. We're going to be doing some in-person demos at NIGA. It'll be tight, and we got some new features that will be announced at NIGA. So you guys definitely want to be there. Come check us out and come say hi to Juan as well. So
one of the first industry events too after COVID, right?
First in-person casino conference, I think.
Yeah, so it's like double bang for your buck, man. We get to see all the faces we haven't seen in a long time, and we get to talk about what we do. So yeah, looking forward to it.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in again, and look out for another episode in 2 weeks. Thanks, Juan.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it.